Hello everyone, my name is Franzen. This is my oral presentation for OMGT 5503 Maintenance Management. And today I'd like to discuss with you autonomous maintenance implementation in the U.S. Air Force fleet of C-130J aircraft. Brief summary of what we're going to talk about today. We'll start off with a quick background of autonomous maintenance, what that means, and a little background on TPM. We'll jump into um, kind of a historical view of what maintenance in the C-130J in the Air Force has looked like currently and in the past, and how we can bridge that gap to getting more to an autonomous maintenance structure and the many benefits that that would bring. We'll then move on to talk about some of the hurdles to overcome, some of the some obstacles that we'd have to move past to implement autonomous maintenance, and then we'll wrap things up with a conclusion and a quick bibliography at the end of the presentation. So to start briefly, what is autonomous maintenance? It sounds a little bit more like robots doing maintenance, but that's not really the case when you're talking about autonomous maintenance in TPM. So autonomous maintenance basically is the operators, in this case that would be the aircrew, pilots and loadmasters in the C-130, um, taking care of a certain level of maintenance on the aircraft. That would be being able to diagnose certain issues before they became major issues that would keep the aircraft on the ground and unfit for flight. And then also when certain maintenance issues arise, training the aircrew to be able to deal with that without turning the aircraft over to maintenance, and using the maintainer's valuable time and also keeping the aircraft on the ground longer than it needs to be. So with that, historically, when an aircraft is broken or when there's an issue with the aircraft, the aircrew, the pilots would land the plane. They would write up the issue in the aircraft forms. They would give the forms in the airplane back to maintenance and basically say, here it is, I broke it, and now you get to fix it. This really is a maintenance process that hasn't changed much since the infancy of the U.S. Air Force and the U.S. Army Air Corps back in World War II. And that structure worked pretty well in World War II when there were roughly 300,000 planes in the inventory. Today, there's much closer to about 5,000 planes in the inventory, and it's critical for national security and national defense that we keep those very valuable assets flying as much as possible. And autonomous maintenance would help us do that. So I'd like to give you a quick example of a maintenance issue where autonomous maintenance would be very effective. So on our C-130J, there's an auxiliary power unit basically when we're on the ground and engines aren't running. It's a small jet engine that provides electrical power and bleed air to the airplane. We're taught to monitor the temperature of that. If the temperature gets high on the APU, it might need servicing, might need oil. But we as aircrew can't do something as simple as fill the oil reservoir. We've got to bring it back to maintenance. They've got to do an inspection and then fill the APU with oil, and then we can take it back and start the APU again. As you can see, it's a lengthy process. When in reality, with a little bit of extra training, the aircrew could take care of that issue themselves, and maintenance could continue focusing on engine overhauls, landing gear replacements, things that they're specifically trained to do that would be too big of a task for the operators themselves to take care of. So you can see it would free up time for the maintainers. It would also keep these valuable assets, the aircraft, flying more regularly through their constant deployments and trips throughout the world, and continuing to provide national defense for the country. So there's a lot of benefits to this autonomous maintenance. Obviously, there would be additional training for the aircrew involved, and that would have to take place in initial qualification along with learning to fly the plane. You learn these basic maintenance tasks as well. Overcoming change is never easy, so you would really have to um, develop an implementation plan that would show the benefit to the pilots and loadmasters as well as to the maintainers. So obviously we don't want the maintainers to think that they're going to be losing their jobs over this. It would simply take some of the more mundane tasks off their plate and place those tasks on the operator. Now to the operator this might seem like just additional work for them, but the selling point there would be, hey, the aircraft will be flyable and available more often, meaning we can get airborne more days of the week, and most pilots and loadmasters would be excited for that fact. So there are positives on both sides of the maintenance and operations side. Some other change implementation, a good change agent is always critical when you're rolling out big changes within an organization. So finding a credible pilot, credible loadmaster within the community who has bought into this change would be vital to having the whole community really engage in the autonomous maintenance process and make it a success. Thank you today for listening to my presentation. Some references for today came from our textbook, Maintenance and Reliability by Ramesh Gulati, also from the Smithsonian Institute website for some of the numbers on the World War II aircraft there. Thank you all very much and have a great day.